A teenage skier refused to let a devastating accident stop him from chasing speed. A dad whose handwritten letters are reaching strangers across the globe. And a history-making journey across America, fueled by love and grit. Those stories and more are coming up next. It's Friday, August 22nd, and this is the Feel Good Flyover. Hi, friends. I'm Amy Hess, and welcome to the Feel Good Flyover, the place where we climb above the noise and share the stories that lift us all a little higher. Whether it's everyday kindness, once-in-a-lifetime milestones, or just something that makes you smile. This is your weekly reminder that there's still so much good out there. Let's get ready for takeoff. Three years ago, Chalmers was standing on a podium in Scotland, one of the country's rising young ski racers. Just 2 weeks later, he was in a hospital bed, paralyzed from the waist down after a devastating crash on the slopes. Now, at just 17, Ali has already made history. He's the first wheelchair user in Scotland to pass the Association of Racing Drivers test, competing head-to-head with able-bodied drivers in the Scottish Mini Cooper Cup. And in his very first race at Knockhill, he was named runner-up driver of the day. Today, I'm sitting down with Ali to talk about his journey, the challenges he's overcome, the support that's carried him through, and the goals he's chasing next. Before the accident, Ali was on the podium more often than not at club, regional, and national level. Most noticeably, he finished second in the Scottish Children's Championship, one of the biggest events in the nation's skiing calendar. Racing with Glasgow Ski Racing, a club that has produced many champions, Ali looked destined for the top. But in March 2022, everything changed.
I was racing my brother at Glencoe. To be honest, I don't remember the crash. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't remember the ride to the hospital, but I've been told that I was avoiding someone and I went over a fence and into some rocks, and obviously not an ideal way.
What followed was months of grueling recovery. The accident left Ali with a broken back, neck, collarbone, and ribs. He spent 2 weeks in intensive care, and in the months that followed, endured multiple surgeries. From the removal of part of his intestines and appendix, to kidney stone procedures, to a spinal fusion to correct scoliosis. And when we sat down for this interview, he was just days out of yet another operation. Well, you're now Scotland's first licensed wheelchair race car driver.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be blazing a trail for others who may one day follow in your footsteps?
It feels quite good because I guess before I broke my back, I'd never really thought about disability motorsport, but I wanted to try get into it and there was nothing up here, so it's good to, create a kind of pathway with Scott and Minimax and Motability all kind of working together to try get more people into it.
You were a top skier before your accident. What was the hardest part of adjusting to a life in a wheelchair?
I think the hardest part was maybe the physio aspects of it, because I didn't really do any physio when I first got out and it wasn't offered, and I ended up with a lot more problems than I needed, so it took that for me to realise how important it was to keep yourself healthy and stuff.
Through it all, Ali leaned on the people closest to him for support, like his mom, Carole, who encouraged him to find a new competitive outlet. And there was someone else who never left his side.
My girlfriend, because I had a girlfriend before I broke my back. We're still together now, so she was like, I think, a big part. And then also just, I guess nothing was really going to get better on its own. And I needed to do stuff to change it if I wanted things to change for me.
That determination carried him from rehab to the racetrack. His specially adapted Mini Cooper allows him to accelerate, brake, and change gears entirely with his hands. And at Knockhill, he's already hitting 100 miles per hour.
Yeah. So it was from a company, BWIC fitted them down in Newcastle. So how the hand controls work is it's kind of like there's like an under ring under the steering wheel, and you pull that towards yourself to accelerate. So it's an electronic accelerator, and then it's just that mechanical brake, and then there's kind of like two buttons in the middle of the steering wheel, and the one in the right is to go up a gear, and the one on the left is to go down a gear.
Even as he competes against drivers older and more experienced than him, Ali has his sights set on the future, with dreams of racing in the British touring cars. That would mean moving into bigger, faster machines like BMWs and Audis, and one day he hopes to join Team Brit, the world's only competitive team made up entirely of disabled racing drivers.
I guess my long-term goal would maybe be to race in the British touring cars. I've always kind of watched them, and I like all the cars that race in them, and I think, yeah, probably the British touring cars would be where I want to go.
Well, what would you say to someone facing a life-changing circumstance like you did? I mean, how can they stay hopeful and keep moving forward?
I'd say probably don't live in the past. Do you know what I mean? You just kind of need to accept the circumstances and do everything you can to kind of get back to where you were before.
Allie's story is such a powerful reminder that even when life changes in ways we never imagined, there's always new doors to open. It takes incredible courage to lean in, stay competitive, and even create a pathway for others. We'll be cheering him on every step of the way. If you'd like to keep up with Allie's journey, we have his social media account linked in today's show notes. From Scotland, let's head to Ohio, where one dad is showing us the power of pen and paper. Rosie Paulik grew up with something rare these days, a handwritten note from her dad every single day. From summer camp to college to her first apartment just 20 minutes from home, the letters never stopped. In all, she saved more than 3,500 of them. Her dad, Buzz Ecker, is 67 now, and after finishing his PhD earlier this year, he was feeling a little aimless. That's when Rosie had an idea. If his letters meant so much to her, maybe others could use them too. She posted on TikTok, and the response was overwhelming. More than 1,000 people from around the world, grieving, lonely, or just in need of a dad joke, asked to get one of Buzz's letters, and the Dad Letter Project was born.
The responses are so clear to me that people need connection, and they need anybody to tell them that they are loved. And I think a lot of people need a dad. I'm going to be honest with you. My dad is so wonderful. I know how lucky I am to have him as a dad. He's honestly kind of nuts though. I guess a lot of people could say that about their dad. His name is Buzz, one Z. He only goes by Buzz. If you call him Mr. Ecker, that's I guess it would be Dr. Ecker, but you have to call him Buzz. That's always been that way.
Now Buzz writes about 10 letters every morning, and they've brought on volunteer dad staff writers to help with all the requests. Sometimes sharing encouragement, sometimes a corny joke, sometimes just reminding someone they're doing great. Rosie said, it's like a hug, but on paper. If you want to request a dad letter, we've got it linked in today's show notes. And finally, a coast-to-coast journey of perseverance. Brooke Johnson has made history as the first woman ever to skateboard across the United States. The 29-year-old set out from Santa Monica, California, and after 119 days and 3,266 miles, she rolled into Virginia Beach on August 15th. Along the way, there were plenty of moments that tested her resolve. And on day 113, visibility was zero. But Brooke pushed on, ending her update with a promise.
I'm on my way to skate across America, and it is day 113. And you think it would get easier because I'm only 240 miles away from the coast. But this is what we're dealing with this morning. Visibility zero. I cannot skate this road until this fog clears. So we're just gonna sit here at the top of Stewart Mountain. Not only that, this is the last hill I will have to encounter, the last mountain I will have to climb to get down to the coast, but we're gonna have to be pulling some 60-mile days. So stay tuned, it's gonna get really hard, but I will see you August 15th if it's the last thing I do.
And that she did. Brooke completed the journey in honor of her late stepfather, Roger, who became quadriplegic after breaking his C5 vertebrae and passed away last year. Together, they once dreamed of finishing the trip with Brooke pushing him in his wheelchair. Though he couldn't be there, she carried him with her, wearing a necklace with some of his ashes inside. Through storms, worn-out shoes, and rough terrain, Brooke persevered, raising $50,000 for spinal cord research. At the finish line, she said her stepdad's presence carried her the whole way. Her message to others: you can truly do anything you put your mind to. And if you want to see more of her journey, we've got it linked in today's show notes. Now let's take a look at some more good stories making headlines across the country and around the world this week. Moments of kindness, courage, and even a little bit of cuteness that are sure to lift your day. In Minnesota, hard work is paid off in the most unexpected way. For more than 3 years, Rodolfo de Paz, a father of 2 from El Salvador on a work visa, walked over 4 miles a day between his jobs at Chipotle and Dairy Queen, often working 80 hours a week and sending nearly every paycheck back home to support his family. A former coworker shared his story, and the community stepped in. A local family invited him to dinner, gifted him a bike, and eventually, through their Bible study group, surprised him with a 2000 Buick Century. Rodolfo calls them angels. And now, instead of walking before dawn, he's finally cruising to work in style. Over in Charlotte, 12-year-old Jace Garland had his Make-A-Wish dream come true. After battling a rare blood condition and a bone marrow transplant, his wish was to be quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. The team signed him to a contract, introduced him to his hero, Bryce Young, and then let him run for a touchdown. When Jace crossed the goal line, the whole team rushed the field to celebrate with him, a moment his mom says was nothing short of inspiring. Next to Kansas, where a baby hippo is proving moms really do have superpowers. 6-week-old Mars, one of only 3 pygmy hippos born in the United States last year, went viral after zookeepers couldn't coax him out of the pool at dinner time. Relatable, right? That's when his mom, Posey, gave him the universal mom stare. The clip has been watched more than 45 million times, and beyond the cuteness, Mars is a big win for conservation with only about 3,000 pygmy hippos left in the wild. Here's a sneak peek, but you can see the full video linked in today's show notes. And finally, in Alberta, Canada, 92-year-old Ron DeHolke got to relive his youth in the sky. Ron first trained as a Royal Canadian Air Force pilot in the 1950s, flying the iconic Harvard trainer. This week, nearly 70 years later, he climbed back into one for the first time since his service days. He even recreated an old photo of himself beside the plane, smiling just as wide as he did back in the 1950s. Ron called the experience amazing and unforgettable. A reminder that passion never really leaves us. Want to see this inspiring moment? Check out the link in the show notes. For our video of the week, we're heading into the concert hall where even Mozart got upstaged by the smallest voice in the room. This clip of a performance of Mozart's Masonic funeral music has racked up more than 86,000 views on YouTube over the years, and it's not because of the orchestra. It's because of what happened just after the music ended. One little voice from the audience said exactly what everyone else was thinking, a simple wow. That was so pure, it stole the show. You can see the full video linked in today's show notes. Time for Amy's altitude check, where we take a minute to let the good really sink in. As I look back over the stories we've shared today, I can't help but think of Hebrews 12:1-2, which says, "Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith." That's exactly what we've seen today. Allie Chalmers is running his race, trading skis for a race car driver after an accident changed everything. Brooke Johnson skated more than 3,000 miles, carrying her stepdad's dream the whole way. Buzz Ecker keeps showing up with encouragement, writing letters one at a time. Each of these stories reminds us that perseverance doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it's endurance, sometimes it's faithfulness, sometimes it's just taking the next step. And the good news is, we don't run it alone. So if the course feels uphill, keep your eyes on him and keep pressing forward. That's all for today's Feel Good Flyover. I'd love to hear which story lifted you the most. Send us an email or drop a comment so we can keep spreading the kind of good you like to hear. And if you want even more uplifting stories, check out our email edition. They go beyond the podcast with even more good news. Join the 2.6 million subscribers who get their daily top headlines without the spin, plus a weekly dose of inspiration, all right in your inbox. Just head to jointheflyover.com. Until next time, remember to look for the good.